message through chat box. Okay, is it my voice is audible? So my continue my session now. I'll try to share my screen also. So is it visible to you or not? Please send me one message. My continue my session. Is it my voice is audible and is it my screen is visible? Yeah, thank you. Okay. In the last session, we are discussing about what is the transaction management, what is the transaction, and what are the properties of transaction. Am I right? So actually, this is the last unit for us. Okay. In this unit, so mainly we are focused on to the what are the so in this unit, main important questions are so actually this unit having two parts. So one of the part is related to the transaction management, and another part will be related to the storage and indexing. Okay, so that means how we are store the data into the database and how we are retrieving the data easily from the database and what are the ways to organizing the data in the database. Okay, so that part will be related to the so that is the another part, and one part is related to the transaction management. So that means in each and every unit we are having the two parts actually. So easily guess so which type of questions are asking in the exam point of view. Okay, I'm already saying I'm already giving one assignment to you. So in that assignment, I'm focusing on to the first 3 units. Okay, so if you study those questions properly, so then one of the we are easily attempting the answers in the exam point of view. Okay, please remember this. Okay, and in the last class we are discussing about the transaction management. First of all, we try to discuss what is the transaction. So transaction is nothing but a series of actions. So that means each and every transaction having some of the actions. Those actions performing different types of operations. So generally those type of operations are related to the either read operation or maybe the write operation. What is the meaning of read operation? So for example, if you want to retrieve the data from the database, we are not performing any type of the changes, just only we try to view the data. Okay, so that type of operation will be referred to as a read operation. Okay, if we want to perform any type of the modifications on the existing data, so that is nothing but a write operation. Okay, in this type of way we are performing only two operations on the data items. Okay, so that is possible through using some set of actions. So those set of actions are referred as a transaction here. And another thing, so whenever we are using Dbms or database to performing some functions or operations, so those are identified as a transaction. So we already know about this. For example, if we want to, for example, if we are depositing some money in our account, so then we see message your transaction ID is this. If you are buy some particular item from the online, so then also your transaction ID is this. So that means the each and every transaction having one ID. So that is unique to track the status of the particular transaction. When we are doing the transaction, what is the transaction, how much of amount is maybe using for to the transaction, what is the time of the transaction, okay, who is the owner of the transaction, so for who is the beneficiary and who is the owner. Okay, so in this type of way, so in the by using the transaction ID, we can find out so many details. We also know about this. So in some type of situations, we are already track our products, the status. So maybe the shipping status. Am I right or not? So here, so the transaction is not a new word. So the transaction is nothing but a list of actions. Okay, so these list of actions are executed by the Dbms, and in some type of situations we need to manage these transactions. So the responsibility of transaction management is executing the successfully executing these transactions without occurring any type of the problems. That is the main responsibility of transaction management. So now we try to see in the screen. So transaction is a set of changes that must all be made together. It is a collection of operations that form a single logical unit of work. So that means they are actually doing the same work, but for to performing the same work, we are using so many operations. Those are actions. So those are can be referred as a transaction. Okay, it must be either completed or entirely aborted to ensure consistency and integrity of the database. So that means these are, so in some type of situations, maybe based upon to the completed transactions, maybe in some type of situations we are based upon to the maybe incompleted transactions. So whatever it may be, so here the main responsibility of transaction management is successfully executing the transactions. Okay, so first of all, we try to see a transaction is an execution of user program and is seen by the DBMS as a series of list of actions. Okay, so what is the transaction? List of actions. That is, the actions that can be executed by a transaction includes that read and write operations of the database. So that means here, so which type of operations are or which type of actions are included in the transaction, whether we are read the database, we read the data from the database or write the data to the database. Okay, for example, here in the last class also we are discussing about the same example. Okay, so what are the operations of the transaction? So those are read operation and write operation. We already know about this. Read means nothing but we are retrieving the data from the database. Write operation means nothing but we are committed to the disk. So that means new data is sent to the disk. Okay, so if you observe here, to read the database object, it is first brought into main memory from the disk. We already know about this. So once the data is committed to the disk, so the data will be stored into the secondary storage device. So then, so how we can retrieve the data from the database? So first of all, we need to retrieve the data from disk to the main memory. Okay, so from the main memory, we are accessing the our required data. Am I right? So the same thing is represented here. First, it is brought into the main memory from disk, and then it value is copied into the program variable. So that means where we are required. For example, we are asking, so who is the student number 10? So we want to know about the details. So then how we can write that select star from student where student number equal to 10. Then it will be giving the details of the particular student of 10, and those details are retrieved from disk to the main memory. From the main memory, we are accessing, and it will be able to visible on the screen. Okay. Next one is the write operation. So to write the database object, memory copy of the object is first modified and then written to the disk. So that means here we are performing some modifications on the data and that is written to the disk. Okay, so that means here we are performing the save changes. So those are possible through after using the commit only. So once we are performing using the commit, so then those type of changes are saved in the disk. Okay. In the last class also we are discussing about this, and another one is the properties of transactions. Okay, what are the properties of transactions? This is very important question in the exam point of view. Okay, don't try to forget this, because maybe this question is asking for maybe from each and every unit asking 2 questions. Am I right? So in the first question, maybe the chance of first question is asking from this topic. So that is, what are the properties of transaction, or what are the asset properties, or what is the transaction management, like this. Okay. So in the exam point of view, please try to remember one thing at least. So in some type of situations, we are not able to answer all questions. Then how we can answer the all questions? So first you try to read the questions carefully, number of times. So you don't try to observe your surroundings. Okay, maybe your friend is not attempting answers. Maybe some of the persons leaving the examination hall within time. So those type of issues are, you don't try to consider those type of issues. Okay. So when you are attempting one exam, so our goal is should be pass in the exam. At the same time, we try to get good marks in the exam. Okay, don't try to consider the surrounding issues. Okay, so for example, in some type of situations, maybe we are not able to understand the questions in the proper way. Maybe whatever it may be, we are prepared. Those type of questions are not maybe appeared in our exam paper. So then how we can attempt the exam? So then you try to read the questions carefully. Then so definitely you will got answers at least from one keyword. For example, maybe in that question one transaction is there. So then you can try to elaborate that. For example, maybe asking about different types of transactions, but we don't know. So for example, what are the states of transaction? For example, maybe, so that question is we are not studying for to that exam. So, but here the thing is, we try to attempt the exam. I'm right. So at that situation, just to try to explain what is a transaction. Okay, how what are the transaction management? So what are the properties of transaction? Even though asking at that question, we try to elaborate the answer in this manner. Okay, so then definitely you will get some marks. Okay, and one more thing in the exam point of view, so no one is not observing our paper, so they are not having the time. So they are having only, so maybe using 3 or 4 minutes to correct our paper, even though you write the exam in 3 hours. Okay, so please try to understand me. Don't try to misunderstand. Okay, so what I'm saying is here. So when you are attempting the answers in the exam point of view, here the presentation is also most important than the content also. So why? Because what we are representing is not a important. How we are representing the content, that is the most important. Okay, so why? Because how you are representing the content, so that means maintaining the neat handwriting, and try to represent the diagrams, so try to represent the answers in the points wise or paragraphs. Okay, so try to maintain the border clearly, so like this. So if you maintain the papers maintenance in this manner, and you try to attempt the questions in the same order. For example, maybe, so maybe you some of the persons maybe write like this. So 5A in one side and 5B at last side, and 4B one side, and 4C in first page. So for example, if you are managing in this way, so maybe when maybe the examiner thinks about you, maybe this person is not reading well. But if you are attempting the answers in the same way, so try to represent the answers in the sequence. Okay, so for example, 1A 1B. So for example, if we don't know the 1B, no problem, so you can start the next question. Okay, but if you change the sequence, then maybe the chance to think about you. So just only we are having the 3 or 4 minutes to impress the examiner and to get good marks, right or not? So in that 3 minutes, how we can impress that person? So simple, just maintenance of our handwriting. So better you try to improve our handwriting. So if you watch some of the YouTube channels, so most of the members explaining about the how to improve the handwriting. So please try to practice that. If you try to practice, maybe at least it will be increase your score up to 10%. For example, maybe if you are getting now 60%, so then definitely you will get 65 or maybe 70%. So if you try to correct your errors, so which type of errors are you are attempting in the exam, so then definitely you will get good marks, no more doubt it. And you will get good marks, and you will get good percentage, and you will be settled in the good job also if you are maintained in this manner. Okay, even though we are not studying about the exam, just to try to having some idea. So even for example, maybe in the next coming 2 days, maybe conducting the DBMS final exam, then also you will be passed with good marks, no more doubt it, if you are following these tips, not only in this subject. So it will be used for your entire career. So that's why I'm saying like this. So don't try to misunderstand me, please. Okay, and you don't try to write any type of the stories. So stories, cinemas, movies. Okay, don't try to elaborate the answers in that manner. So you try to elaborate the answers with the concept. For example, if you know about this topic, no problem. Even though we don't know about the topic, then how we can elaborate that answer? Okay, so you try to think in that manner. So then we are having the chance to get good marks. Okay, so at least maybe 2 or 3 marks are assigned for to our attempting question. Okay, so please try to follow in that manner, and you try to use some time in your homes to practice your handwriting. Okay, so otherwise I don't mind about that. Why? Because you are the responsible for your future. Okay, please remember this. Okay, in the last class we are discussing about the properties of the transaction. So that is atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. So atomicity means nothing but uh, Atomicity is nothing but each and every transaction should be atomic. So that means either consider all actions of the transaction or not consider any one of the action in the transaction. That is the main property of atomicity. Okay, what is the meaning of consistency? Here we are consider only correct values. Okay, not consider estimated values. Okay, and another thing is the isolation. Isolation means nothing but we are separating the transaction from one transaction to the another transaction. Why? Because if you are not separate the transactions, so in some type of situations, more than one transaction operated on the same data item. So at that time of the situation may be occurring the chances of conflicts between them. So those type of conflicts not occur when we are separating from one transaction to the another transaction execution. Okay, and another one is the durability. If you are successful to maintain these properties, previous three properties, then definitely we will maintaining the durability. So that means what is the meaning of durability is at any time of the situation, we will be able to giving the data to the users. So even the occurring the crashes to the system. So that means in some type of situations may be occurring the crashes. Even though occurring the crashes, once the data is committed to the disk, then we are able to giving the data to the users without losing data. So that is the main advantage of database management system. This type of facility is not available in the case of file processing approach. So we are all discussing the same topic in the first unit. So it will be able to recover the data even though occurring the failures. Am I right or not? So then how we are retrieving the data from the failures also? So by using checkpoints at maybe the timestamp values. Okay. So whenever the data is committed to the disk, so the data will be saved by using some checkpoints. So those checkpoints are used for to storing the data, in which time the data will be saved into the database. So by using the same checkpoints, we will be able to recover that data. So we will be discussed in the next classes. Okay, don't worry about that. So durability means nothing but provides the reliability. So even though occurring the crashes to the system, we will be able to giving the data to the users. Okay, so that is the main thing. Okay, now we try to see on the screen. So ACID is a set of properties that guarantee the database transactions are processed reliability. Okay, so these are the main properties to maintain by the transaction management. So there are four important properties of transactions that DBMS must ensure maintain the data in the face of concurrent access and system failures. So that means even though number of users accessing the data at the same time and maybe occurring different types of problems. So at the time of the situation also, if we are maintaining these properties, then we are able to overcome those type of issues. Okay, atomicity. So please remember this acid. Okay, A means atomicity, C means consistency, I means isolation, and D means durability. Okay, so atomicity. So if you are observe here, so in the brackets, we are mentioned one thing, all or nothing. So at least you try to remember that keyword. Okay, what is the atomicity? Either consider all or not consider any one of them. Simple. So that is the main definition. But here you try to giving the more importance for example also. So in the last class also I'm saying about that. In the normal forms also, you try to giving the same priority for the answer and example. So why? Because here the answer is in only one or two lines, but the example is in more number of lines. And you try to example that example also. Okay, you try to explain that example. Okay, for example, if you observe here, so what is atomicity? So what is atomicity means nothing but each and every transaction should be atomic. So that is the first line. What is the second line? So either consider all actions of the transaction or not consider any one of the action in a transaction. So that is the definition and completes the atomicity answer. But for that question, so we are not able, maybe that examiner not assign 7 marks. Am I right or not? So when you giving the example and explanation about that example only, he will giving the chance to giving some more marks assigned to the attempted question. Am I right? Okay, so if you observe here, users should be able to record the execution of each transaction as atomic. Either all actions are carried out or none of them are executed. So users should not have to worry about the effect of incomplete transactions. So that means this property is mainly focused on the incomplete transactions. So if any incomplete transactions are there, those are discarded by using this property. So that means, for example, in the last class also I'm saying about this. Here we are consider the two persons, for example, A and B. Okay, A is transferred the amount to B. Okay, now for example, maybe some amount is deducted from the A. So after deducting the amount from the A, maybe occurring some failure. Okay, then what happened? Amount is deducted from the A, but the deducted amount is not added to the B. So actually it is a error transaction. So we are not accepting this transaction. I'm right or not? So when we are sending some amount from our account to our friend's account, for example, amount is deducted from our account, but that is not added to our friend's account. Are you accepting the transaction? So immediately we will call some particular persons and explain this transaction. Please to recover this transaction. I'm right or not? So that means those type of error transactions or incomplete transactions are automatically eliminated by by using this property. That type of property will be referred as a atomicity. So that means consider only either all or not consider any one of them. Okay, so that means uh, successful transactions only considered. Okay, so this is the example. I'm not explaining now. We try to elaborate the example in this manner. So try to mention the name and what is the initial balance, what is the after balance. Okay, for which person is sending the amount. Okay, so how to, in which type of maybe occurring the problem. So you need to explain all these things. Okay, next one is the consistency. If you're observing the brackets, no violation of integrity constraints. We are already saying about, we're already discussing number of times about integrity constraints. I'm right? I'm right or not? So what is the meaning of integrity? So integrity is allows to perform number of changes and to maintain some constraints or some conditions. So those type of conditions are inserted into the database. For example, maybe only for particular this thing. For example, by using check, so we can insert only our required condition of the um, tuples only. I'm right or not? For example, maybe if I'm inserting some condition, for example, whose age is greater than 20. So only those people are allowed into the database. So then how I can assign that constraint? So simple, by using check of age greater than or equal to 20. I'm right or not? So that means in this manner, we can insert our required conditions into the database by using integrity constraints. In the same way, primary key is also one of the integrity constraints. So that constraint is not accepting the null values. And another thing, duplicate values are not accepted for to that field. In the same way, foreign key also. So all these are the integrity constraints. Here, what we are observing in the consistency, no violation of integrity constraints. So that means we are supporting for to the integrity constraints. So that means if any type of the problems are occurred in the case of integrity constraints, those are not considered. So that means here we are maintaining the correct values. So what is the purpose of integrity constraints? So integrity constraints are used for inserting correct data into the database. And right or not? So that means at any time of the situation, we are consider the correct values. Okay, try to see the definition. Each transaction run by itself with no concurrent execution of other transactions must preserve the consistency of the database. So that means in some type of situations, we need to preserve. So which type of conditions are previously assigned to for those type of data items in the database. So those are should be maintained. For example, we are set the primary key. So at any time of the situation, so now don't try to violate that condition into the database. Okay. Here we are consider some examples. So that is, for example, after deducting the amount, what are the remaining amounts in their accounts, whether it is equal to its previous amount or not. So if it is not equal to the previous amount, so that is nothing but not maintaining the consistency. Am I right or not? In the last class also we are discussing about the same example. Maybe Anupama having 50,000 and Red Queen having the 20,000. Now Anupama sends the 5,000 to the Red Queen. Then Anupama balance is 45,000, and if the amount is credited to the Red Queen, then amount is 25,000. If you are sum those type of present balance and the previous balance, those are equal. If those are not equal, so that is nothing but it is a not maintaining the consistency. So nothing but it is a inconsistency. So that means error type of values are allowed into the database. So try to check whether transactions maintaining the consistency or not. So next one is the isolation. So nothing but concurrent changes invisibles. So that means when we are allowing more number of transactions at a time, so then in some type of situations may be occurring the problems. Am I right or not? So for example, maybe if we want to execute more number of transactions, for example, T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, so in that manner, so we are executing more number of transactions at a time. Okay, then so if we want to separate from one transaction to the another transaction, there is no occurring any type of the violations. So otherwise, maybe the chance of occurring the conflicts. So the best example is railway reservation. So in the previous days, how we are reserving the trains. So more number of users accessing the same database at a time for the same train also, for the same date and same time also. So then how we can separate those user from one transaction to the another transaction? One of the user maybe starts his journey from Yellow to Hyderabad. Okay, one of the person same from same place also, some other person also trying to the same location. So in the same way, different locations, different users accessing the same database at a time. Then one each and every user is separated from another user. How the occurring the separation? So if you are observing, only one of the more number of persons are allowed to perform the read operation, but allowing only one person is allowed to performing the write operation. Am I right or not? So whenever one of the person is performing the write operation, then remaining persons are in the waiting state. I think you are observed into the operating system in the same manner. Am I right or not? So remaining persons are in the waiting stage, only one of the person in the active state until the completion of the previous one. I'm right. So in the same way, here also one of the person only performing the changes. For example, if the same data item is there, for example, we are booking the same train and booking on the same date and booking on the same time. So then remaining persons in the waiting stage until the completion of this particular transaction. Why? Because here occurring the sharing. So that's why we need to separate. Okay, and we try to issue some locks for to them. So in that manner, we try to separate from one transaction to the another transaction. For example, if it is a read operation, there is no need for to maintain the separation. For example, if the results are released, then there is no restriction, only this number of students only, or only this college is only, or only this district students only see the results. So we are not consider this type of constraints. Am I right or not? So why? Because it is a read operation. So any number of users can access the same type of database at the same time. So if it is a read operation, there is no problem. But if it is a write operation, there is occurring the problem. Okay, so that's why we need to separate from one transaction to the another transaction. So that type of the thing is maintained into the isolation. And the last one is the durability. Once the Dbms informs the user the transaction has been successfully completed, then that is returned to the disk. Okay, okay. Its effects should persist even if the system crashes before all its changes are reflected onto the disk. This property is called durability. The effect of complete or committed transactions should persist even after crash. The recovery management component of the database systems the durability of transactions. So already I'm explaining the same thing in the last class. Then why I'm repeating the same thing in this class also? So this is very important question. So and you please try to remember these topics up to lifelong period. So this is the one of the PO actually. Okay, program outcome. So after the completion of this subject, so you will learn some of this subject. Okay, so that is the main thing. Okay, please just wait 1 minute. Okay, so that's why I'm repeating the same topic in this class also. I hope some of the members able to clearly understood now. Okay, if you're having any type of the doubts, you can contact me personally also. Don't worry about that. Okay, maybe in the coming classes we will be complete this last unit also. But you try to prepare for the first minute. first of all, try to revise first 3 units. We're already revision the 3 units. If you're having any type of the doubts, you can contact me, no problem. And I'm already giving my number. Okay, you can try to contact anytime, no problem. Okay, for example, if I am busy in that time, I will try to call back. Okay, if you send some message, I will try to give the reply. Okay, but you don't try to carry with your doubts. That is my request. Okay, why? Because this subject is not completed in this semester, so it will be follows entire your career if you are in the stream of CSC. So in the last class, I think yesterday or maybe last yesterday, one of the person is asking me again. So I'm attempting one exam. So in that exam, DBMS is most important. Please try to send some answers. So in that manner, most of the people asking me. If I'm having the free time, definitely I will cooperate that. Okay, so in the last yesterday also, I'm sending the answers to that particular person. So why I'm saying again, so the subject is you try to give the more important. So try to giving the some additional preference for to this subject. So even I'm just explaining about in the syllabus topics only. So you are having the responsibility to practice remaining things in this subject. So like queries, or ER diagrams, or normal forms. So whatever it may be. So from this subject, so each and everything is the important. Okay. So please try to remember this. And the next topic is states of transaction. So we will try to discuss in the next class. So just only, so this is same like as a, so this is same like as a operating system topic. So what is the states of process, right? So I think you are already studying the operating system now. So what is the process? The execution of the program is referred to as a program. I'm right or not? So the execution of the program is referred to as a process. So what are the states of process? So new, ready, begin. Okay. So next executing the states of the transaction. I'm right. Okay. Please just wait. So in the same manner, so here also, uh, sorry for the disturbance. Okay, if you're having any type of the doubts, you can ask me now. So otherwise, we can end the session today. I will try to give the chance to unmute yourself. If you want to speak anything, unmute yourself and try to talk with me. And you don't try to forget to submit the assignment within the time.